like the shot you're talking about, the long shot. It's a particular style of handheld camera where jump cutting and things like that is very easy to do because of the way it's shot. It's very intelligently shot. When things begin to appear slow, you look for different things, and it's always easy to kind of condense things. And even if you do cut it, it feels like it's one thing. So the editing is always hidden.
Although in the sequence, which is not 6.5 minutes long anymore, but something like 3 minutes, or 3.5, or 4 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes long, there's maybe 3 or 4 cuts in it, but it's all the same shot. And the camera is moving around here and sees the person from that side. And the moving around I just cut out, because it really gets interesting when we are in front again, or sometimes there were some delays in the action. A girl has to dump out her handbag until the bad lieutenant finds what he tries to find. It's a long time of wasted time to look around and poke around in this, so we abbreviated that, and in 5-6 seconds he finds what he wanted to find.
So the next take, or so, you know, well, I think that was all one take, but then you have a cutaway of the guy who's watching, and it's all incorporated in one shot, but it's in such a way that when you know that there's a slow moment, you look for other things, and then you know you can cut it together, shorten it.
So in principle, I don't shoot much footage, and a very good example would be Aguirre, The Wrath of God, where we shot something like 40,000 feet of 35mm footage. And there was no more money for buying one more foot, so I had to do a whole sequence in one single shot and done it one time, or 2 times if something really went bad. So I'm accustomed to be economical with the means that I have at disposal. The film with Nicolas Cage, of course, had much more negative raw stock at my disposal, and I didn't use much more than half of what I had.
Yeah, the style of shooting in the documentaries, I don't see a tremendous difference between the style of shooting. Fiction films and documentaries.
No, both are very stylized. As you have seen, this film is Encounters is a highly stylized film, and so is The Bad Lieutenant.
Yeah. We should also say it's the same DP who's also worked with you.
Yeah, Peter Zeitlinger, yeah. A man strong like an oxen. Yeah, in his youth he was an ice hockey player for Spartak Prague. And that is one of the best teams in the world. I mean, he was in the youth team, but this man is really strong. And when you see, for example, in Encounters at the End of the World, when we are crawling in these fumaroles, in these ice tunnels, and sometimes the crawl spaces were not higher than 2.5 feet. And it looks like Steadicam, but actually Peter Zeitlinger had the camera in one hand and crawled on his belly, and still this one hand that holds the camera and comes after the person, which actually was me. He holds it as if it were a Steadicam, and he crawls through tunnels that are only that low as let's say 2-3 feet maximum.
Yeah, I don't even think you really realize that looking at the footage, how tiny some of those spaces are.
I think we got time for 1, maybe 2 more.
Yeah, thank you. Well, speaking of Japanese Elvises, you in Tokyo Ga, you speak about wanting to go to space to capture, you know, these untainted images or whatever that you can't get. I couldn't help but feel like with this movie, you got maybe as close as you might be able to get. Do you feel that that was part of your reason for going?
Well, you are referring to Tokyo Ga, a film by Wim Wenders, which I never saw.
Oh.
I know I was in the film, and I know vaguely what I talked
Sure.
to the camera. But
you should see it.
You know, all those German filmmakers are the same.
Anyway, yes, sure. And not only at the time Tokyo Ga was shot, I think sometime in the
80s, yeah.
80s. Yes, I always wanted to go. I'm very curious, and I would love to be out in space, and I would love to shoot a film on Mars or on the moon. But of course, that will elude me. That's evident. And as a substitute, I do a film under the ice of Antarctica, or as a substitute, I'm using footage that was shot by astronauts back in 1989 on board of one of these space missions. And so I have to resign myself without any problem. Yes, others have been there, others have been at the wild blue yonder planet in liquid helium under a frozen sky. Yes, wonderful, they have done it. And astronauts have shot a film out there in orbiting planet Earth, and they did a phenomenal job, exceptionally beautiful and strange, and I used it. But I will never see the day, which is okay. I can live with that. However, I would give 10 years of my life if you would transport me out to Mars. One more minute.
You just finished shooting a film in New Orleans, and I'm just
shooting and editing within
doing
8
it all
weeks, yeah.
right there in New Orleans. What was it like to shoot in a city that had such massive devastation just a few years ago, and still slowly but surely coming along, rebuilding itself?
It has. The film was originally written for New York. And there was a quick decision, it should be shot in New Orleans. And it is not only devastation by a hurricane, it is also a collapse of civil behavior, of a sense of community. And it's not only the looting. For example, something like 60% of the police force did not report for duty anymore. And many of the police people went straight, just before everything was evacuated, went straight to the Cadillac sales lot, grabbed all the 35 Cadillacs and took off for Texas and other places. So there was a collapse of morality, and in a way the film depicts a corrupt policeman, which is a story which somehow belongs to New Orleans, to a place where civil behavior has not functioned anymore. And in a way it's a film noir, and when you look at New Orleans, although I think it's coming back and it will take another decade, and there's very, very big efforts to bring it back. Part of the efforts, by the way, is filmmaking. The state of Louisiana, and in particular New Orleans, has been extremely hospitable to film productions. Not only with real hospitality that people show you, and everybody shakes their hand and says, great that you are here and that you are filming in our city, and thank you. And I said, no, well, some of the real reason for the producers was there are massive tax incentives to film in Louisiana, and some of the biggest Hollywood films within the last half year or so were shot mostly in Shreveport, Louisiana. And but you can sense, yes, bringing in real work and intelligent filmmaking and good stories is one of the small moments and elements that is actually bringing New Orleans back. And you sense it everywhere. Although I believe it will take at least 10 years until we are basically back to normal. There's too much destruction, too much crime, too much still sense of or absence of citizenship. And you see how people are struggling and maintaining their little business that is in the middle of devastated areas. And they keep their outpost and they say, we are going to stay open, although we only make 20% of the business, but we are going to be around.